So I mentioned online that I finally figured out how to stream and that it really isn't difficult, that there's just a lot of moving parts. And I had one person ask me to share what I know. And so I'm doing that, and I have a companion blog article that I'll link in the notes below that goes along with this video. But first I need to be clear, I'm not an expert, and I've only live streamed on Twitch a half a dozen times at most, and never for more than a few minutes until today when I streamed for right at an hour, and I happened to record 3 new episodes for my YouTube series, Roll20 for the Absolute Beginner, and now I'm having to edit those and whatnot, and they'll be coming up in the coming week or so. Now, I'm sure it was not the best looking stream, nor the best sounding. I'm sure there was a buzzing that I just got figured out how to stop that. For this video, FYI, look up how to add a noise gate to your microphone to stop it from picking up sound until you start talking. And then proper lighting and audio settings are 2 entirely different topics, and I'm not the best example of that, but I figured out how to make it work. So while I don't do it well, it does at least work. And as with anything, practice and familiarity plus an effort to improve will yield results. Now, in my experience, you want to use a program called OBS, or Open Broadcaster Software. It is open source freeware. That means it's free. You don't have to pay a dime for it. There is a pay version, but you don't need the pay version. It's quite sophisticated. It can handle recording your screen, it can record your webcam, it can do both, it can do overlays, it can do all kinds of fancy stuff that you've seen most screencasters do. Most screencasts that you see online use OBS, or Open Broadcast Software. They use it because it's free. There is a large number of high quality streams that use really expensive equipment and expensive programs, and you can do that, but you don't have to. You can get by with a solid webcam, a decent microphone, a decent headset, and a computer with enough oomph to power it, and you want to have decent internet that's reliable. Now, personally, I've wanted to record the games that I run online, mostly so I can play it back and analyze my GM style, or because I want to record those things when I say something just right. You know, when you say something just right, but you just, after the fact, can't remember what it was. All the time I say something that I think is brilliant, but then I can never remember the exact words. I'd love to be able to capture those moments. The problem is getting the audio from the other players to record at a volume that I could hear has always been a missing step. And so finally, between a combination of different videos and my own trial and error, I hit on the right formula to record the audio of another person from an online meeting software. So that success has allowed it to make sense to me so that I can do it for variations on that. And the key is to get the hardware settings right on the computer for your microphone, for your speakers, and your camera. Now, the webcam is usually the easy part. It's getting the microphone and the speakers right so that you get the good quality sound from the microphone. You don't get feedback between the microphone and the speakers, that the microphone's not picking up the external speakers. That's why a headset works really well. You use the speakers in the headset that the microphone isn't going to pick up, so you don't get cross-channel noise. I'm sure there's a way to do it so that you don't need the headset and so forth, but I haven't figured out all those settings myself. But the key is, once you've got it set right at the hardware level, and whether you use Windows or Mac or Linux, find out how to get to your hardware settings, because it's going to be different for each one. Specify which hardware you're using, set the default levels for that, and then OBS will assume the default setting for your default microphone, your default speakers. But if you really want to, you can specify a specific microphone or a specific speaker. But if you set in the hardware as your default, then you don't have to worry about it. Then you can change the default at the hardware level, and OBS will automatically always use the default. And so I recorded about a half dozen short videos and kept playing them back until I got the sound right. And so for me, using the headset speakers and the microphone on the headset solved most of my problems. And this solo operation of me being a little talking head on the bottom corner of the screen showing whatever's on my browser or my screen at the moment is simple and works well. And the same settings that allow me to stream a browser tab will also let me stream a video game. So once you figure it out for one thing, it's pretty easy to translate it to another. And again, none of this is hard. It's just a matter of figuring out the right combination of hardware settings combined with the settings in OBS to get the results you want. Now once you get it working, you can work on improving the lighting and the sound, which would be the next natural progression. But light and sound are both totally different topics that are way beyond the scope of this short little video. As I said, you get the hardware default set correctly, just go to OBS and it'll work fine. When you first install OBS, it'll ask if you want to run the wizard to configure it, and if you want to configure it mostly for recording or mostly for streaming. And you can stream from either option, so choose whichever one you think you're going to want to do, and it'll set all the defaults for you and take a lot of the guesswork out of it, and you can be up and running in a few minutes. And the streaming can be done to Twitch, YouTube, and I'm sure there's other streaming services that Twitch can handle all of those, and it should be able to automatically connect you to your streaming service and so forth. And you can also use it to simultaneously record a video for editing that you then upload to YouTube or other VOD, that is a video on demand service. So YouTube, Vimeo, I'm sure there's others. And so this means that you can either stream only, or you can record only, or you can stream and record at the same time, and the recording would be saved to your computer. Now, if you want to live stream an RPG, I recommend 3 videos that I'm going to link down below from Jacob Noorman of Mini Terrain Domain. He put together these 3 videos that are very helpful, and he mentions different tools. The thing that he used to stream with multiple people is a tool called Zoom. It's an online conferencing software with a free option that you can do all kinds of. It's basically unlimited for 2 people, and 3 people to 100 people have a maximum of 40 minutes. Most online games are hours, so you'd want one of the paid tiers, but the paid tiers, you only need the host is the only one that would need a paid tier. All your guests would not need that, so only one person's got to be shelling out for that. It's, I think, $10 a month for the most expensive. Maybe it's 15. It's not a lot. You could also use Skype or other similar services. I guess GoToMeeting is the one that I managed to record a video of the screen and audio from myself and the other person. His first one is How to Stream D&D and Other RPGs Using OBS in Zoom, and he has a link to download OBS. There's a virtual cam plugin that sets up virtual cameras so that you can use those to capture the audio virtually of the other guests through your streaming service, and then a download link to Zoom. And then he's got a 2-part series of how to make the overlay and the stream assets. So you see all those fancy grids where you can show the different cameras, Brady Bunch style, and the labels and all that. He goes into how he makes those and talks about the ratios and sizes. And so if you want to get hardcore into streaming a game or streaming some other thing that would require that, I highly recommend those. That goes into all the settings and all the details. But for me, the thing that really clicked was set your hardware settings right, and then go to OBS. Makes it very simple. So you have to understand how to get to the microphone and speaker settings. In Windows 10, it would be the open sound settings. You can right click on the speaker icon down in the lower right by the clock, and there'll be a top option, open sound settings. And then once you get into that, you can specify your output device, which would be your speakers. And if you've got a headset plugged in, it would offer your external speakers, maybe built-in speakers, or your headset. And then your input device, which would be your microphone. That could be the microphone from your webcam, the microphone from your headset, or some other microphone. And then once you've set those, go to OBS and just have it use the defaults, and that's the quickest, cleanest, easiest way to do it. There's too many moving parts for me to go into all the details. Hopefully that makes enough sense, and if you watch Jacob's first video, he goes into great detail and you'll be able to make sense of it. He does an excellent job explaining it because he's got much more experience than I do. So check it out. I'd also invite you, if you like this video, to subscribe and like and tell your friends. And I've got a Patreon that helps support my online efforts in RPGs. I've got PDFs I publish on DriveThruRPG. There's this YouTube channel, of course. I do a podcast. I have a blog. I'm an Amazon affiliate, so if you'll use the link down below to make your next purchase on Amazon, that'll throw a little bit my way. And all the links will be down below. Thank you all for listening, and game on.